Hello, dear YouTube. The FBI and Weathersfield Police have a Joshua Julian, have people with the name Kalal involved with some drugs and medicines crimes with kids, and some other nature's digital crimes with a principal child offender. Has some KKK themed, black themed, and Latino themed intelligence families who are also involved with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, planting evidences on and off campuses, and acting tied to that as rules with people that prevent writing. So they also have rules planting evidence, federal evidence is crimes and crime roles. Federal rules of evidence is crimes, federal rules of evidence is crimes roles. So way worse. With all sides in criminal and civil cases through time. Has something to do with their rules with town lines and shooting locations. There are police shooting locations associated with people with the name Cololo and Demaro and Kerr. There's an officer, Jerry Miller, who confirmed is one of the ones on Facebook and or on Twitter who recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, has rules with federal evidences crimes with judges and prosecutors, planting evidences on all sides of my house and pretending other anyway. He was pretending I was growing pot there, as rules with the principal child defenders campus. I still haven't had a response for his confessions. Retired police chiefs are involved with that with the same houses near me, who also have roles with and as families that answer the phones for the police at 911. They've been fabricating conversations there to hide lie progressions because they had roles with all sides in criminal and civil cases. I don't even know what classes they went to. Two brothers and their mother, who has roles with some doctors and their patients, who have roles planting evidences on my street before I even saw their faces. And these are ones I never even spoke with, and they pretended they spoke with me because they painted themselves in corners. These are ones personally and professionally involved with judges and prosecutors with the same house/S, involved with wire crimes with Weathersfield Police, whole crime methods where they fabricate and change. They just totally make up conversations with police. I never went to the police station, had a police report, never gave police report at my house with the police when I was a kid. No, because WFSB, Channel 3 up here in Connecticut, they pretended other. These are also the rules these are also names at the intelligence locations. Intelligence names is foreign and domestic, next to Channel 3, WFSB, next to Fox Connecticut News, next to WTNH. So they won't get me in writing. Since I was a kid, they've been fabricating fake evidences, fake motivations with foreign bodies as the ones at increasingly New Britain Superior Court and Hartford courts before the World Trade Center attack. They effected confessions to me from people involved with foreign and domestic military. I found out these are also people increasingly involved with the Mazzucato Bakery and a modern pastry, involved with Jonathan Maiano, who's one of the ones involved with sequence shifts with them. The news media has been using words like attack and to hide sequence shifts and pretend they don't realize because they have roles of wire crime acts and methods with the people who answer the phones for them and with the people who live next to their location and work there. All kinds of scams that they've been charging us for. These aren't people legitimately making jobs. These are a certain type. This is a certain type of victim/hyper victim, victim predator/hyper predator, being and pretending other being used remotely by the breaching method with that too. Black pupils. We have black pupils' whites of eyes to discern. This has been left out. We have the same color eyes, different color eyes at the same time, and there are exceptions to discern. Nature having used its means of communication with us, its means of showing us how it uses difference. The ways we know, but tactical ulterior from the ways we know that it's positive, except for how positive as criminal insidious is nature. Nature is a positive. Have state collusions. Oh, it's politics. In other words, with overt negatives. It's not about, these are people on off Weathersfield town offices. Increasingly, people tied to mayors from Weathersfield have roles of body dumping spots. and fake conversations with me. I don't know the Morin family. She was in my fourth grade class. There's a South Saviello, increasingly involved with people with body dumping spots. In the body dumping spot of Billy Grosso with his neighbors, involved with wire crimes, mail crimes, drugs and medicines crimes with the kids, and families on off the Board of Education that have their religious spots involved too, because that's how they had life progression. I never had a personal conversation with Miss Riley. I did not respond when she repeated about how a neighbor who I never even saw, I never was in the presence of her, had been kissing for a long time her boyfriend. And these are also people that lied to everyone around me since I was a kid. Friends I know, to people I don't, try to make fake exceptions. There's a Fred Grisette, who's one of the ones from other areas, with a Jonathan Maiano, who pretended to know me by driving up onto my street. In other words, I used to never call people when I was a kid because it's part of the reason I know things. The only reason I called John, I had to stay back for a senior year. That speech class teacher and the one I had to take when I took it again, they had roles with names who had roles of home break-ins in my area too, like DeMorrow and Heather Hansen. Heather Hansen has all kinds of federal evidence of his crimes, and extortion roles with people from Central Connecticut State University, also involved with Dean Judd and his kids, and more people involved with the kids of leaders of the kids. There's one, there was whatever they typed or whatever, which her conversations with the principal about me regarding my roles with the protest against a police beating. It was against much more than that. Years ago, when I was in high school, and everyone walked out of the school, and a girl said something to the principal, and then she said, and she looked at me and said, "What were you guys going to do?" And he was, if he goes back, nothing will happen. So I said, "We're going to go back." But that same girl has roles with people at Trinity College who got involved with untimely death. People next to Trinity College are increasingly involved with the same house, and one's tied to them near me, who have judges and prosecutors and their family members and people tied to them planting evidence on all sides of my house, and fake motivations for it when they pretend they don't understand us online. I keep getting blocked from comments by YouTube. These are people since I was on Facebook. Now they're on YouTube with a Joshua Julian. I still haven't had a response for the other names also brought up by the principal child offender and other officers who confessed. Police Chief Cintron and his daughter and family, and them switching names. They do switching names, then they write fake and change reality communications. So these are also people with the various departments of Central Connecticut State University. And I don't know what a Jimmy Noonan at all. The only reason I know Jimmy Noonan's name is because it was repeated to me. There are proofs that he pretended to know me by other people telling him what to say about me. I walked by his presence one time, so I recognized in a Mike Tyson cartoon, because something tied to Mike Tyson with Central Connecticut State University, and the names involved, and Jimmy Noonan was one of the guys who looked just like a guy he would do a picture of, and has something to do with them. These are people that run the managers at Stop and Shop associated with this Jamie Smith in Wethersfield, and there's two of them in Wethersfield. And it was since it was before Stop and Shop. It has something to do with their roles with On Line Town Line Drive, on off Jordan Lane, are one of the things that connect people as roles with the names of the Wethersfield Police, forging and switching names, fabricating police reports as collusion with crime scenes since I was a kid. These are the same names, timed collusions with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and their educators. Increasingly, people tied to a Mr. Neville I never had a personal conversation with, except for to ask him one time. I asked him why he didn't give me my poem back. And in other words, and then he put me, a Heather Hanson, a Joe DeMauro, and a Ray Collo in the same middle school, summer school class. I never saw them on the campus when I was in middle school. They were planting evidences, and with increasingly with people with mayors, also on parks planting evidences and making confessions. Well, the only time they tried to make a exception of knowing me, I made no plans to go there. In other words, then, they were just there. Danielle Perron and different guys who said they were her boyfriends at the same time, including Kevin Caron, Mark Caron twins, as one of the ones involved with Central Connecticut State University, with state police and people like with them with the writing forensics, and through time involved with people near me. I never saw them near my house in my life, but they're associated with the ones that were putting fake ties to me, fake natures of ties to me, as the ones who went down to the Wethersfield Police Department since they were kids and have roles of falsified police reports, wire crime acts and methods, fake motivations, planting and screening. They're screening their motivations. They're also involved with how they work criminal enterprises and private ones, and conversations like little rat bags with their teachers that aren't putting whole fake things, sequence shifting. And with the news, new WFSB, Channel 3 in Connecticut, attached me to fake conversations with them when I caught them with the principal child of Brent Bender. Fake conversations with them about the World Trade Center, too. Increasingly, there are neighbors of a Dan King who had a father. God forbid. I'm sorry about that King family. I asked you nicely. I asked one of the mother because it was brought up to me, and I still years later I still don't have a response. In other words, increasingly, like your neighbors have rules. People with the name Demorrow and Fienza, who planted evidences with a King with a Dillon family, and with the ones further World Trade Center predicate acts with WFSB. A Michael Kerr and Joe DeMauro recorded, confessed, demonstrate, confirmed they have federal evidence crimes with foreign and domestic associated with their roles with spots next to WFSB. They didn't say like that. They said they could make confessions while they're planting evidences. Now, these are all, they have roles with all sides in criminal and civil cases. The interbranch names, forging names, switching names. There's a Brian Silver, who's one of the ones who was recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed by others. I never had a personal conversation with him. Might have been him over the phone. I never made a statement and I hung up. In other words, they might have taken my picture near them in the past, but I would never have anything to do with them. I try to make a big exception. Has something to do with Rick Cianfaglione and the educators of him. And he pretended he was, they pretend people to fake locations, fake ties, fake natures of ties to other people. And they have roles with all kinds of natures of investigators, criminally foreign influence. Their roles with Korea, Italy, with all kinds of medicines, corruption, computer corruption, World Trade Center corruption, insurance, through, in other words, a whole bunch of victims / hyper victims. Then they pretend it's personal. That's why we're supposed to get things on paper. The narratives regarding privacy, people pretending they want privacy because they don't even know me. In other words, they're bringing their names up. Fred Guzet is also one of the ones with Modern Pastry, with this Mayana family, involved planting evidences, fake ties, fake natures of ties to me. I don't know the Modern Pastry family at all. They're people with the Town Line Drive spots, and next to with the principal child abuser and others' roles with it. What brought it up to me was untimely deaths. They have rules of untimely deaths and other federal evidences crimes, even if that was made up. Because I at Trinity College, and they have digital crimes with the emails with that regarding me and they pretended I put a fake letter that never was, still, with my English teacher. These are the same people involved with the digital crimes, with the principal upskirt nature, and his prisons. The people with the prisons. These are names involved with the corrections offices, which is on the town lines and all, and with the judicial branch offices. Increasingly, they have names who've been planting evidences on the sides of my house, and with judges and prosecutors who've been using the three spots at the end of the Berlin Turnpike for identity theft, fraud, slander, with people also next to the state capitol has something to do with it. So there are people with my neighbors who, at Harvard Hospital that brought up confessions about their roles with them, with a Chet Casper. I don't know if he used the name Casper or Chet Casper, just the name Casper he used. A guy involved with wire crime, mail crimes, and evidences crimes with lawyers involved with the hospital, all kinds of natures of organized crime. He made a statement. He was, in other words, in the context where he said I had to sign something, or they were gonna strap me down and shoot drugs into me. And in other words, and I had no response when the person associated with the Smith family, I don't even know his name, and where the Wethersfield police station is now, involved with them. It threatened to attack me when I was asking to communicate with one doctor. It was only one black doctor I saw there. I was asking, I was going to get to the KKK Confederate flag theme part tied to that patient of his, who's also tied to roles of my neighbors in the Wethersfield Police Department and the town offices, Wethersfield town offices. So you should fear God to hide and plot with the people associated with the Afghan leaders and kids too, at next to Trinity College. And what are you doing with this Peruta family? There's a Peruta family is one of the names of the Russians. I don't know the rest of them, who will court confess, demonstrate, confirm they've been planting evidences with Wethersfield police chiefs and their lawyers, preventing mandated law, and they had roles forcing the principal child offender. Make sure you get them on one name and paper. There's a Brian Silver, who's one of the prosecutors involved with Connecticut's District Court and New Britain Superior Court, who's also involved with Hartford courts before the World Trade Center attack, per people tied to him. You know, other families at New Britain Superior Court and Hartford courts, they were affected to ask me for help. I found out it was tied to the deposition of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his co-defendants. And the court offered to host it there, the deposition of the former director of the FBI. See, usually a court wouldn't be involved with such. I mean, unless a person was in prison with a RICO lawsuit. But this is a pro se labor lawsuit. And all sides of that case and their lawyer and the former director of the FBI had predicate acts against me. And with WFSB too, attached me to fake conversations about the World Trade Center. They also posted legal papers that had been proven timely stamped and handed into the court next to the World Trade Center the day of the attack. They had been presented papers that appeared to have been handed in late because they post-dated from inside the court. That proven led to a 2006 district court case in Connecticut. But before the World Trade Center attack, the same names involved, I recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed they influenced the kids of leaders of the kids. There's also a principal at the principal child abuser school years ago. Her daughter had a boyfriend named Kevin Harris. I never had a verbal conversation with in my life. He planted evidences with judges and prosecutors, intelligence family on off Quinnipiac University. These are people also on Middlesex Community College with the Facebook pages. Further KKK Confederate flag themed federal evidences crimes. These are CNN sources. And with the Facebook page of the principal child offender, sexual, medical, and other natures of organized crime that he and his sources were involved with. They're hiding behind how they have police chiefs through time and prosecutors involved with a whole bunch of names with wire crimes, with the Cololo family directly, and people associated with their cousins, like a Phil Cololo, and people with the name Scalora are involved with the World Trade Center and further with Whiting Forensics. Whiting Forensics has a Bob Chase who confessed and recorded, but he wouldn't let me read the police report. Phil Collo was one of the ones involved with that falsified police report, so way worse. And this is extortion. And they've been preventing me from getting a job, including I would have been a way better teacher than these people. You have tactically, criminally foreign influence uses of the campuses. Further, there are intelligence people associated with a private school, a Watkinson school at the end of Albany Avenue. And these are police forms involved with the Albany Avenue through time. Weathersfield Pizza has a Steven Stocco and a Maria Vizino and people associated with them at Central Connecticut State University. I never saw Maria Vizino on a campus in Weathersfield in my life, but a Mark Violet and others recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. I never saw him on campus in my life too. One time I walked by him, it was the exception. I don't forget that. No, 2 times, real quick. I never saw him on class. Never saw him around the hallway. Mark Violet, his brother, I never saw him on campus ever. Never had a conversation with his brother ever. Mike Violet. In other words, they tried to pretend other. It has something to do with foreign and domestic, military, criminal foreign influence, criminal gang. These are people that have Confederate flag themed, KKK themed confessions tied to that. So Mark Violet has rules with some people who claim to be Confederate flag themed. And these are increasingly people with Whiting Forensics and confessions tied to this Joshua Julian I caught on the Facebook page of the principal child offender, planting evidences, fake motivations, hiding behind their kids because they have foreign bodies, needing to screen their own motivations with uses of them roles. Also, tactically, delusions raw. You guys are speaking for the mental health of anyone. All sides. You have that as a shell game, too. That they're hurting the president, so they keep him. No, he's against violence while he's being violent. They're forcing equality of fact sheet nature, criminally foreign influence as collusion. They don't put up a bulletproof glass. They don't have a bulletproof glass. Get down. Get down. Get them on paper, one name in sequence, please. YouTube, get them on paper. I told you there are people with guns and bug spray involved. I asked you to get them on paper. There are foreign bodies involved too. That's why I told you to get them on paper, one name in sequence. Weathersfield Police and the courts they brought into it. I want them too, the Bob Chase confessions with this Phil Collo. Because the only time I ever saw him on my street was after that. And so it's confirmed he's involved with this, with the principal child offender. Other people, other ways that's recorded too. And this is next to different schools. Whiting Forensics has more through time, increasingly involved with child offenders, planting evidences on and off campuses connected. All fake stuff there. Get them on paper. Let's go. Shouldn't have to beg you for a name. You too. Let's get these police on paper too with the cyber police. These are cyber families involved with Pakistan. A whole bunch of people from Pakistan have roles with drugs and medicines crimes with the intelligence community. These are families on off the state corrections offices and off the state judicial branch offices. Increasingly with the house with the wire crimes, the Weathersfield Police, ones with the name Smith and Collo, and they brought everyone else into it. And with the previous neighbors and the Kevin Dillon and his wife involved with the real estate house, my new neighbors, but the neighbors that were there before that had roles with that real estate agent. And their family members and their neighbors with body dumping spots, and people with strangers, intercities make confessions to me, and they lie about how they're pretending to know me. That's how they hide. That's how they get away with pretending not to understand people. You guys understand what the interbranch prevented me writing when I was in the court. They switched names, forged names, and made confessions. They switched arresting officers' names. And they put an array of fake things in databases. I never was seeing anything to respond to verbally. Since I was a kid, they've been fabricating evidences. Also, other arrests, like next to Central Connecticut State University. Those names there, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. They're involved with the ones from Weathersfield involved with the sides of the schools, planting evidences with them through time. These aren't legitimate unmarked police forms, legitimate roles with their acting professors too, with acting professors associated with corners of streets, the houses and businesses associated with corners of streets, with WTNH planning evidences, also next to campuses. So let's get them on paper as the ones involved with the World Trade Center attack further. A whole bunch of boyfriends tied to a Heather Hansen have roles with her with a home break-in and other natures of organized crime in my area also increasingly tied. And their roles with conversations with this Klotz family and with others, like with this Kerr family. They have sexual circles. It has something to do all along Route 3. Are people who've been played with foreign and domestic have been planted, and with their narratives regarding violence. Because these are people with the corners. There are judges and prosecutors who have roles with kids who punch me around the corner when I come around the corner, timing things like that at more than one school. Once when I was in first grade, it was first or second grade, and there wasn't even someone in my class. So they know you can't respond properly, or they're going to use what you respond to measure and maintain, left out the other names involved. A Rick C.M. Paglione will recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed with others. There is a Leahy family, and there are other doctors with the name Dingleberry and Dewberry who have been planting evidences with names next to the schools and on social media. There is also a I never met her, which a Dr. Laura Saunders, who has neighbors and had roles further with the principal child defender then and now, and with people next to the schools, intercities connected. The people with the name, there's Demorals Market where it is now and where it used to be. It used to be right next to Harvard Hospital. And they have roles with Aiello's Kitchen there down the street from them. And a Mayana family on the other side of Harvard Hospital. And Aiello's Kitchen is right in front of Buckley High School, which is right near UPS too. These are the leaders of UPS security and foreign and domestic military and people on off the state judicial branch offices associated with the name Oliveri. UPS sought me out when I was a kid and then as an adult to confess, demonstrate, record, confirm their roles with asking me to sell drugs with them through UPS and trying to plant evidences on me as the people involved with that leading up to the World Trade Center attack and after, who didn't let me get a response, but they were asking me for help. People associated with judges and prosecutors were planting evidences at West Hartford locations. Increasingly, people tied to a John Dennis and a Joe Dennis. I never saw them around schools. Joe Dennis and John Dennis. They have roles with a former mayor and people that lived around them. Intercities. These are people with New Britain too. All kinds of medical and drugs crimes with kids through federal evidences crimes. Identity theft, fraud, fake motivations planting has something to do with their roles with a park near West Farmers Mall is increasingly involved with the confessions of foreign and domestic military and requests for help before the World Trade Center attack. And I didn't communicate with my family about this. I asked to speak with someone without telling them why. And they went and pretended other too. That's also recorded. These are people that used all sides in criminal and civil cases as collusions, not just at crime scenes, but and with news at the same time. See, they make things extensive because they're making subject treatments. These are people offensively need to keep things like politics blamed for things that really should be blamed on criminal foreign influences and delusions. We have the actual delusions, not just to not just to the politicians speaking, but the counters to them. They are an array and collusion. So follow mandated law, get them on paper, one name and sequence. There's violence involved. You have more guns threats. There was a pellet from a shot from a pellet gun hit the grass near me the day before the attack on President Trump. These are people involved with the Secret Service. Oh, they're also at Central Connecticut State University. People involved with this Kalal occurred tomorrow, and their shooting ranges, a whole bunch of guns, and they're planted evidences through time next to parks and on off it. There's a Perone family and a Kerr family years ago with the Demoro, Kalal, and others with the mayors. They planted evidences on off town line drive locations. Is increasingly involved with the names like a Mike Levine was brought up by the confessions of the principal child offender. Has something to do. He forced Saudis to collusions with them, or the intelligence tied to them forced Saudis to collusions with them. Their roles on off the town line drive locations and Route 3. Names all along Route 3 that I have a word of conversation with, been planting evidences with people that have roles with home break-ins in my area through time too, untimely deaths. And the same house /S increasingly tied into the names that brought it up intercities when they got involved with the untimely death at Trinity College. See, these are people with the name Violet and Kalal have roles with different natures of drugs with the intelligence community on off the corrections offices. There's a Michelle Sanquest, who's one of the teachers involved further with the intelligence communities, who planted evidences, crimes, and various natures of child abuse with the principal child offender and the news at the same time. And so these are also people, her sources, like these are people tying collusions with overt criminal enterprises, actually, per this. In other words, so get them on paper, one name and sequence. Let's go. Stop. I'm okay. I'm not even going to comment anymore because that's what they're doing. Because they influence. In other words, they're lying to you, YouTube, on the Facebook page of the principal child defender. A Joshua Julian was involved with an extortion act with me, verbally. And this is tied to a home break-in since. And years before that, the same ones involved tied to him, who brought his name up, repeated to me. His neighbors, apparently people that live near a Mike Violet, where he used to live and where he lives now, has something to do with their roles with the intelligence community. And this Casper name brought up, they name drop when you walk by them, they pretend they had a conversation with you. A whole bunch of people at Hartford Hospital involved with these names of the Wethersfield Police in the name Kalal, Kerr, and DeMar with foreign and domestic medical families. These are also people at the corner of Town Line Drive and Sausty Highway with Pakistan people. This is Tucker Carlson's campus too. No, and these are people involved with the sexual spots next to it, who have that involved. Time, in other words, collusion with the people pretending to be against it too. They're collusions with each other, all with the same house /S because they pretend it's prejudice. They got a guy who was standing on with a dress at the corner of church, involved with the Kalal and O'Brien. Federal evidence crimes through time, foreign and domestic military corruption, child abuses, identity theft, fraud, slanders. Increasingly, people who went to my grammar school that weren't even in my class, they were in my same grade, but they were in different classes. I never even saw them around. They're increasingly brought up with in other words, at other campuses, roles with other predicate acts and other names. This is how they keep people from demonstrating you have forgiveness for the fake law names that can't afford, with little kids and adults are actually capable of discerning regarding how to summarize American history and what's logical. So they forced collusions. These are people involved with uses. These are cyber police uses remotely of the Facebook page of Judge Napolitano, where I asked him to get those courts on paper, one name in sequence, with the police switching and forging names. Let's go, chop. Let's go. YouTube, let's get them on paper. Whoa.